Okay, so it's rolling along. It is the 15th again. Things are actually, I'm still really excited about it. I'm escaping. This is 10 years ago when I was leaving. Today, I think today, the 15th, was around when I had this communication with Andreas, where, he had said to me, I believe in truth. I believe in looking at both sides. I believe in having the courage to say what I think. I don't think Scientologists are bad. I just think they're misinformed. I suggest you start reading. The, I had not been reading on the internet at all because that's what Scientologists in the Truman Show do. They kind of self-censor themselves, so everything's just wonderful and delightful. They don't have anything that might push their buttons or upset them, right? So I hadn't really read anything. So I thought, okay, I took a deep breath. I thought, okay, I'll go on ARS and start reading. And the first thing I saw was from Mary Tabayoyan. I'll never forget it. It said, ladies, if you're thinking of joining the Sea Org, read this. And I started reading in it, and it was about enforced abortions in the Sea Org. Now, this is with the Sea Organization. These are the top guys that work 24 hours a day. They've signed their billion-year contract, everything else. And I'm just like heartbroken. I mean, this is my church. This is my group. These are the people I trust. And I mean, I've had a lot of horrible things that have happened over the years that helped crack my own personal Truman Show, including getting to the top of the triangle and it not working, my husband being OT8 and being a total wreck, a ton of our friends being OTs and being kind of a wreck, the tech not working. And within the church, it certainly was not working. Wise, international, royally screwing us, and the church not backing us up, backing them up, even though we went to an arbitration, because you can't sue anybody in the Church of Scientology. It's not allowed. It's a high crime. So we had done an arbitration, we won, and then they still managed to flip it. It's just like a number of tons of different things, including myself reading a bunch of self-improvement books, because while on 7, I was having very big troubles and needing help, and the tech wasn't working. So I started reading You Can Heal Your Life and different things like that. And from that was having my own. I realized much, much later after I got out, I was kind of waking up myself. And there were a number of different things that helped me wake up. Music was huge. Huge. I mean, that was a huge part of my waking up because it flipped me back to before I was in the Church of Scientology. So music was a big thing. Oprah was a big thing, and that's a whole nother story to tell you, which I think I've made a video about, but it was huge. And just a number of different things. But these self-improvement books definitely helped because they had great technology in them, and they were $20, where I was paying thousands of dollars for OT7 every 6 months, and it wasn't working, right? So now, here I am. I can't really talk to anyone. We had to sign a thing to be a part of this top secret group that was helping Scientology, supposedly, by handling the critics on the internet. We had to sign a thing that we wouldn't tell anybody, not a soul, not auditors, ethics officers, friends, our husbands, our wives, nobody. Nobody knew, right? And I remember looking at Bill Yachty, who was my auditor and then best friend, and saying, this looks like the Guardian's office stuff, which is where they were sent to prison, 11 of them for over a year, right, including Mary Sue Hubbard. And my auditor looked at me and said, Tori, look at me. You know me. I wouldn't do anything that isn't totally legal and okay. And I did trust him, so I went, okay, I'll go along with it, right? And there I was. So now I've read this thing about enforced abortions, but realized my husband didn't know anything about the top secret mafia. He knew I was doing a program of something helping Bill. That's all he knew. He didn't know what it was. He didn't know I was, and I didn't know I was stopping free speech until I went and looked on the internet, like I told you. So he didn't know anything about it, neither did Bill's wife. Neither did anybody, none of our friends. So now that I'm crying, sitting there crying hysterically, I can't stop crying. And I mean, the magnitude of this is so huge. The enforced abortions, realizing it was just like this gigantic crack in my Truman Show where it wasn't a wonderful thing anymore. It was like horrible. And I was thinking of, this stuff that Bill had lied to me about, and they're stopping free speech on the internet, and you know, Miscavige had royally screwed us, and, on OT7 for year after year after year. And just the many, many things that had gone wrong, right? So I'm sitting in my dining room where my computer was, and I'm crying hysterically. Now, my husband was out of town. He was a sales guy, and he was out of town. So I'm there crying and crying and crying. And I can't stop crying. And I'm thinking, who can I talk to? I mean, I can't talk to Scientologists. I've already signed that thing. I got to pay them something like $50,000 or $100,000 if I tell anybody. Plus, I know I can't call them up and say, hey, I'm really waking up. It's just not going to work. I know what they would do. So I'm like, I can't talk to them. I don't know anybody else. So now the only person I know is Andreas, who's in Norway, who's this huge SP, right? But now he's helped me, and he's been kind, and he does believe the same things that I believed when I got in at 22. Now I'm 53. It's 30 years later, and I'm a wreck. And so I write him back, Dear Andreas, I don't know what to do. Every person I know is a Scientologist. And it's still, and OC, fuck you, you can laugh at me about this, but you know what? It's still, when I think about it, it was so unbelievable that it wasn't a soul that there was one person, and I'll always thank that person and know who you are, as well as Andreas. But aside from that, there was no one that I could talk to. At all. And how am I going to get out of this mess? This is a fucking wreck. So I write to Andreas and I say, every single person I know, all my 30 friends are going to not, they won't talk to me anymore. And my husband of 27 years is not going to either, because he was born into Scientology. And he doesn't know anything about all this stuff that's helped me wake up over the years. And I'm just like, I don't know what to do. And I just sit in my dining room, and here I am 10 years later, and it's like, I know Oza, they're laughing, they're like, oh, but you know what? I don't cry a lot, but at least I can cry when it's right, and you guys can't at all, so that's, they can, but mostly they make fun of people, and I'm sure they're making fun of me, but I don't care. Because I know there's people out there that do understand, and I know there's people out there that it might help, where you're in the same position, where you can't get out of something, and you know what? You can. So I wrote to Andreas, and Andreas wrote me back, and he said, I'm crying reading your email. And nobody knew who Magoo was, right? Nobody. That was a top secret thing also. Nobody knew who I was. They thought I was... they thought I was this, they thought I was that, they thought I was David Miscavige, maybe I was Flag, whatever. Nobody knew who Magoo was, right, on the internet. And so he writes me, and he says, I'm so sorry that you're having to go through this, but I have to ask you this one question. And this is a thing to always remember. Sometimes it might push somebody, but sometimes they need that push. And he said, what kind of friends could those be if they're going to leave you because you change your mind? And that was it for me. It was like the entire Truman Show cracked in half. Light came in. I realized it's true. What kind of friends are those going to be? If I have to jump through their hoops, their way, their how, and if I don't, they're not my friends. Those aren't friends. And to anybody who's in the same position, realize those aren't friends. That isn't what a friend is. And that was an incredibly great moment and an incredibly frightening moment, all in the same time. It's like you're all alone. Now I'm all alone. It's me and Andreas. And this is the other thing. All the critics had said, oh, Magoo, they had typed for days, oh, Magoo, as soon as you wake up, we'll be here to catch you, right? So now, that comes tomorrow. I'm going to tell you tomorrow, but what happens with that? But they had said that. So now it's just me and Andreas. That's it. That's the only person that I'm really in communication with. And there is a book called The Power of One. And it is amazing. One person, you never know what you can do. I know Andreas had no clue how much he was going to help me. But he did. It was a pretty awesome time. So anyway, that happened today on the 15th, and I will tell you tomorrow what happened. But it gets exponentially, I think I've been saying it wrong, better as the next few days come. All right, so I love you guys. I hope that gave you some insight into the escape. All right, so it's coming soon, and thank you to every single one of you who watches this for your kind comments. I greatly, greatly appreciate them. And thank you to everyone who's helping expose the abuses of the Church of Scientology. And Davey boy, I've told you this for years, you can run, but you cannot hide. And tick-tock, tick-tock, time is on our side. Peace out. I love you guys. Bye-bye.